Hi fencers, it's Tyler at the Oakshott Institute. I got a quick video for you today. We're going to talk about small swords. So I've got a piece here from the museum collection that I'm really excited to show you because I love small swords. Let's get started. So up here at the table, I've got this French small sword. It is probably from the 1760s or so. At least this particular one has been identified to be from that time. So I want to talk to you about what makes this one special to me and why I love small swords so much. So first, let's talk about what I love about this small sword. So first, I love the detail on the guard, the pommel, the grip. The whole entire section here is beautifully crafted and intricately detailed. You can see, starting at the guard, there's two different motifs on either side of this clamshell style guard. There's a bunch of gold leafing all over the place. This was likely a very expensive sword, probably in the neighborhood of like what a Lamborghini or a Ferrari would cost these days. And you can see that that continues on the inside of the guard as well, and onwards onto the handguard. We can see there are again some more raised stuff all the way through, little leaves and flowers, and the grip here, you can see the grip is a tightly wrapped wire cord grip. It's very time consuming to create one of these, 250 years ago. And then on the pommel, we have the same motif all the way through. So the owner of this particular sword must have had something really special that they liked about this particular design. Okay, so let's move from the guard and the grip into the blade itself. So you can see on the blade there is more of this gold here at the fort of the blade. You can see a little bit of wear where the scabbard here was rubbing against the blade. It has this very unique blue coloring to really help that those gold features pop, which we can also see that blue coloring in the rest of the guard and hilt as well. Okay, so we've got a couple different features here, and if we look at the blade, it looks a lot like a modern epee blade might. You maybe noticed if you're a fencing student. You can see it has a triangular feature, and you can see that wraps around the back of the blade there. And then we walk up, and it comes to a fine point. Quick thing to note about the edges of the blade is not sharp. Small swords were not designed to do any cutting whatsoever. Small swords were designed to thrust with, so you'd thrust and you would just try and poke a bunch of holes in the other person and then run away. They were primarily designed for self-defense purposes and duels. They were not designed to be a weapon of war. And you can tell by how ornate and intricate the design is on the sword that this was clearly a piece of jewelry, so to speak. Very expensive jewelry, but jewelry nonetheless. This is a fantastic example of a small sword and Next, I want to talk about why I like small swords so much in particular. So as many of you know, I do a lot of foil classes. I love teaching foil. And this sword in particular, the small sword, is the precursor weapon to what would turn into Olympic foil fencing some 150 years later. This sword would have become a fencing foil. Another thing that I like about this sword in particular is its balance. It weighs less than a pound, about. So for reference, a modern épée weighs a similar amount to this. But not only that, the blade is a bit thicker, and the furniture on the handle and on the guard is not very heavy. And so the balance point of this is right about here, right here. I'm not going to freely balance it on my hand, but this is the spot that it's balanced. So that's pretty much in line with a modern fencing sword's balance. It's a little heavier than a fencing foil would be, but still it feels great in the hand, super mobile, and something that's kind of a difficult thing to convey by speaking to you is the tip feel for a weapon that has no button on the end. The way that the end of the sword feels is very, very different than a Olympic fencing sword that has extra weight on the front. This thing, you can see, the tip comes to a fine point. So when you're holding it and you're moving it, it moves very freely. It's very easy to move. Another thing worth noting about this sword is it's not particularly flexible, and they're designed to be stiff. That's why it has these ridges all along the sword, is to keep it rigid. So if you're stabbing something in sport fencing, you want the sword to bend. You want the sword to have give in it so that you will not injure your partner. But a sword designed for fighting with, the priority is for the sword to go through, and the more rigid this is, the easier that's going to be. It's designed to work much more like an arrow than a fencing sword. Okay, so we talked about where this sword came from. We talked about some of the things I like about this sword in particular, and then we talked about what I like about small swords in general. Okay, so that's it for now. Until we can see you again in person, we'll see you out here on the internet. Stay safe and stay hydrated.